this act.
So that was it. So they're basically agenda items.
Okay, under the consent agenda, all items listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be acted upon a single motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless members of council request specific items to be removed for separate action. And tonight, the only action we have is the council meeting minutes of December 20th, 21. However, we did not receive those minutes, so they will carry over till the meeting of the 18th of January.
Thank you.
Communications, your turn.
Thank you. I did put in a letter addressed to members of council and the mayor, mainly to introduce myself to you and let you know that I'm here to help you any way I can. I look forward to getting to know each and every one of you and helping you any way I can as borough manager and secretary. So it's there if you have any questions. I did offer a group tour, orientation. We've done that in the past. COVID sort of got in the way 2 years ago and came on, and maybe some others, but we're always willing to try to do something. We'll touch on some other training opportunities here when we get into resources, but by all means, we're here to do whatever we can in-house to help you get up to speed. So thanks again. The other items, there's a number of letters. I believe there's 7 letters or emails in support of Joe Biegel, who is up for reappointment to the Borough Authority. They're there for your review. There's a letter with events from Downtown Bellefonte Incorporated. If you do act on that, I would ask that you do that on a conditional basis. We've had some staff members out of the office over the holidays, and as I mentioned, one's out on leave. I would like to check our calendar, make sure we don't have a conflict with those dates before we give complete approval. So I just, if you do want to act on that, I'd ask that it be conditional.
Could you do those one at a time, because someone I think are busy and some of them have questions.
It's up to you, folks. But there are a number of events, yes.
You can make that in your motion.
Okay, then I would like to move them one at a time. So the first one is the Friday in the Bronx events on May 27th, June 14th, June 29th, September 30th, and October 28th from 3:30 to 9 p.m. in Talleyrand Park, with the fee waivers except for the application fee for our policy, and would like conditionally by seeing what the plan for controlling the alcohol sales, because that was not in the letter.
Second?
I'll second it.
Second by Deb Clayton. We have a short version of that going on.
We'll get it.
So it was all the dates in the letter.
Right.
Allowing for the waiver of fees is requested except for the application fee. And they have to present a plan for controlling the alcohol sale.
Any discussion?
I would just say make it conditional upon us checking the dates.
Okay, and they
Conditional.
confirming the date.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Second one, conditional on the availability of the date, Chalk the Walk on Friday, July 29th, starting at 4 p.m. on High, parts of Spring and Allegheny Streets in downtown Bellefonte. That was easy.
Probably.
Joanne Toaster Basie made the motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
Kent Burnett.
Discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries unanimously.
If I could just, for the new members, the reason that we ask, we record this for minute taking, and our minute taker doesn't know your voices yet. She'll learn them, but we just ask if you're making a motion, just, if you could say your name, that you're seconding it or making the motion. It's helpful to her that she's doing the minutes, so.
The third one, Bellefonte Under the Lights Waterfront Dinner on Friday and Saturday, September 2nd, 3rd, conditional on the dates, starting at 4 p.m. on Friday and going till 11 o'clock on Saturday, each of those 2 days, with a rain date of September 9th and 10th.
Joanne, I think it says 8:30. Do I have it wrong?
Okay, correct me, you're correct, 8:30.
Okay,
I wrote it down wrong.
okay, okay.
Need a second.
Oh, I'll second it. Johnson.
Toasty and Johnson, second.
Any discussion on the motion?
Yes, I do have one question, and it wasn't addressed, also wasn't addressed in there. I think that we need the answer to this.
Jenny Lynn's on Zoom, so if you have a question,
Okay,
she
yeah, the
can.
question is, I understand you will be using the area between the fence and the Gamble Mill, or will you only be having the vendors located along the Land Street Bridge?
Sorry, Jenny Lynn, try it again. We don't have sound.
Can she type it into chat? I'll tell you why I'm asking the question.
Okay, go ahead. I think we're okay now.
Okay, I was gonna say we're also requesting closure of the Lamb Street Bridge.
Correct, that I understand. The reason I'm asking this question is that there is a possibility that the waterfront development property will be starting construction sometime this year, and I'm wondering what the plans would be if that construction is underway when this comes in September.
You can make it conditional, because you're right, they were talking about moving forward, so.
Yeah.
And Joanne, in the letter, we did request if that space is under construction, we requested Talleyrand Park in the annex. So we will update our plans to move it to that area.
Okay, so it will be conditional on the lack of construction at that spot.
No conflicting events.
Okay. Okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
Any other discussion? I'm gonna have nightmares this evening. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion carries unanimously.
Next one is the Outdoor Expo, Sunday, October 2nd, 9 a.m. To 7 p.m., conditional on the date availability. Again, fee waivers except for the application fee.
Second, Johnson.
Okay, any discussion? Do you need alcohol on that one too?
No, has no alcohol.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Well,
Last time?
it says craft beverages are part of this event.
Oh, I did not see that. Then yes, the craft, bleh.
Craft beverages.
Craft beverage, same thing. I did not see that in the note when I was reading today.
That's what I'm here for, Joanne.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Okay.
Unanimously.
The next one is Small Business Saturday, and as I read the note, I think the only part of this is that in November, the mayor will issue a proclamation which doesn't require a motion, so that's just giving you a heads up.
Thank you.
The other is to allow a conditional approval for the banner across High Street from November 15th to January 1st, with the caveat, if another request comes in, that the banner only be put up between November 15th to 29th, or until the 2 days before the next request for hanging is requested.
Johnson will second it.
Okay, any discussion on that motion?
Jenny Lynn, just one question. There are 2 spots on West High Street that you can hang the banner. Which one are you looking at?
On High Street.
The lower.
So I think it was like High and Spring.
Yes.
High and Spring. High.
High and Spring.
High and
So
Spring
that's,
Street.
that's the
Okay.
one down by the Governor's Pub.
Yeah, in the Governor's Park.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries unanimously.
And finally, the winter market on Saturday, December 10th, from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m., including setup and takedown in conjunction with Victorian Christmas in Talleyrand Park and Annex, with the communications that they talked about.
That was at the meeting of the 20th?
No,
Third.
that's the, after we get the second, I'll explain my concern about this particular.
I will second it. Johnson?
They do have a concern about this at the Victorian Christmas and Winter Market in last month. There was some upset regarding the lack of coordination between BHCA's Arts and Crafts Fair and the Winter Market. At our December 20th meeting, there was discussion of that this communication would occur so that, and they would coordinate who was going to invite which vendors and all of that kind of stuff. There's nothing in this letter that says that's going to happen. So I'm concerned that until that coordination plans are presented to us, I'm uncomfortable voting for this at this point in time.
I am not uncomfortable with it. I think that Jenny Lynn and the others will certainly take on that responsibility because of the concerns that were presented. I would approve it conditionally if that's what you want to do, but
Yeah.
I'm fine with going forward with approving the motion and would monitor the negotiations between the two if necessary. That's just my opinion.
Any other discussions? If seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
We have 1 aye, Joanne. And that takes care of downtown Bellefonte.
Thank you.
Next item?
This letter is small town, something or other, Civic Plus, it's actually a company that sponsored an awards process for nonprofits. The borough submitted the name of Downtown Bellefonte Incorporated. Unfortunately, they were not selected. That's what the letter indicates, so it's there for your information. That's all I have under written communications.
Okay, Lynn, I just want to congratulate you guys on doing a fantastic job last year and making it easy for us to make that suggestion for that award. Okay, where are we at?
Office of Community Affairs.
We'll call on Miss Nina Thompson.
Hi, council. I just have one item that I do need council action on, as it's written in the ordinance. Council needs to approve any demolition permits, and I do have one pending. It's for 140 Railroad Street. The new owner of this property also owns the parcel next door. This is Mr. and Mrs. Rainio. They live at 136, so they bought 140. and they would like to demolish the building that is on 140. It's lighted, it's not really salvageable, it's not in the historic district. So I am comfortable as a zoning administrator with this demo, but I need council approval for that.
I'll make the motion to approve the demolition of 140 Railroad Street.
Johnson.
I'll second that.
Clayton, second.
Any questions for me regarding that? I did
Any-
put that
any
in your
dis-
packet.
Any discussion on the motion?
I was just wondering about, you mentioned in your letter about cleanup.
Yes.
Would that include any potential environmental cleanup if there's an oil tank or something in the basement?
Yep, and this will also go to Center Region Code as well, so there's sort of an extra layer of, enforcement's not the right word, but, they're gonna oversee the demo and they're gonna issue their own permit for the demolition, and that's included in what is required for them as well. But the cleanup would include any potential environmental impacts, like the stream is right near there, so they would have to make sure that the demo is not interfering with that.
Okay, thank you.
Who is doing the demo?
Ed Ranio himself is doing the demo.
And picking off of Deb's thing, does he have a background in case there is a spill? What are the plans to make sure that if there is some dangerous something or other?
Right. I can work with code on that. I didn't ask Mr. Ranio about that particular aspect of it. I know that he has experience. He's contracting and construction and demolition. So he, as a professional, is capable of doing the work. But as I said, Center Region Code is going to also be involved in doing their own permitting. So I can work with Center Region Code to make sure that Mr. Ranio is doing a professional and thorough job of the demolition site.
It does say in the zoning permit, all demolition waste debris will be disposed of according to DEP state and local regulations. Contractor will leave the site in a clean and orderly manner when the job is complete. That gives me some confidence that they will adhere to that.
Right.
I think you did a really thorough job getting this demolition in place for the Ranios. Congratulations on that.
That's typically how I do permits and stuff.
Well, very well done. I drove by the property and it is blighted. I think they're making the right choice.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Any questions for Gina? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Gina. Very good. You want to go through the resources?
Sure.
Ralph?
There's a number of resources here for your review. If you want to take a look down the list, I mentioned our website. Borough ordinances are also found at the website. Take a look here. One second here. Do you have the flyer for the training, Don? I think we'll go over that real quick.
It should be in there, Ralph.
Sure, let me take a second here. There's a couple items I wanted to touch on. Yes, I have a paper copy, but anyway, I wanted to draw your attention to that specifically. It's called Newly Elected Municipal Official Training. There's a flyer there, as well as some other information from the Boroughs Association. There's webinars from the Boroughs Association. There's online training. Specifically, I would call your attention to this one particular flyer as a PDF called Newly Elected Officials Training, Municipal Officials Training, NEMO Training 2022 flyer. Myself and Dawn do 2 of those sessions. They're 2 days on a Friday and Saturday, pretty much throughout January, starting here pretty soon and into February. And then towards the end of February, they have 2 virtual offerings of the same class Again, I assume it's a Friday and Saturday also. Obviously, we're biased because we've helped with the instruction of these classes, but they're very, very well done. They're excellent. It's a nice, very quick, well-rounded class, 2 days of your time to get a good overview of being on council or the mayor and getting a little bit of the ins and outs in a classroom setting. So I'd call your attention to that. And if you're interested, let us know. We would be more than happy to try to get you some reservations for a class that works for you. There's none directly in Center County, unfortunately, but there are some, somewhat close. You'd probably have to get hotel reservations and all of that. But we're willing to try and do that, trying to accommodate people and trying to have you have this opportunity. So please take a look at that. I wanted to draw your attention to that. It's I think, very good and a very timely offering to help you learn the ins and outs of being on council.
I'm going to second that. When I first got on council in 2016, I went to the one down in Gettysburg. It was 2 days, very intense, but it helped bring me up to speed much faster than trying to figure it out all on my own. So if you can figure out one of those weekends that works for you, I would highly recommend you doing it.
Yes, if you don't have it, what I'll do is I'll put it in the next packet as well. I know there's a lot of different resources listed, but it's something I'm trying to stress. I might even send it out by email to you. Yes, there it is. This is what it looks like if you happen to come across it. Myself and Dawn are doing the one in Lancaster, which is the February 4th and 5th weekend. There's each weekend there's like 4 offerings at different places in the state. So we're doing the Lancaster one on February 4th and 5th, and the one in Wilkes-Barre on January 21st and 22nd. But if something works better for you or the virtual works better, leave us know and we'll try to get you reservations. Thank you, Randy.
Could I ask about the other one, the PSAD online learning schedule?
Yes.
Okay. When I was looking over that this afternoon, it looked like some of them would be helpful for some of our ABCs and for our local nonprofit organizations. I also noticed that there are non-member fees. So my question is, could the ABC people participate with the borough membership? And if there's a non-profit that would like to participate, could they pay their own way with the non-member fee?
I would say definitely the nonprofits. I would have to clarify with the Boroughs Association whether, like the borough authorities and so on, are considered a part of our membership, or is that separate?
Okay.
I'd have to clarify
There
that.
was one that popped out, I think would be helpful to both Beta and to the Bellefonte Historic Preservation, as the one on blighted properties is in
Yeah.
December.
Okay.
And I thought that was a really good idea, but I
Yes.
didn't know how to make that happen.
We could certainly look into that. We got, say if it's in December, we have time. So
Yeah.
we can certainly do some homework and see what's available. So I didn't want to spend a lot of time on this, but there's a Borough Council handbook and a Borough Mayor's handbook or manual. Those are Department of Community and Economic Development at the state level documents or publications they put together. Within that state agency, there's a Center for Local Government. So they, for years, way back when, they used to do a lot of the trainings for new officials and staff for local governments, and then they sort of got out of it just for financial reasons, and then a lot of the associations picked it up. So anyway, make a long story short, there's a list of publications. If you go to DCED's website and go to Local Government Services, there's a boatload of publications that are available. These are just a couple of them. There's some other items I picked up off the Boroughs Association's website, which is boroughs.org. the duties of the council president. Trying to think what else here. We went over some of the training that's available. You can get a flavor of what the Boroughs Association offers by looking at the member services, just exploring their website and see what's there. I came across some parliamentary procedures that were, I thought, easy to understand. A couple notes on that. We, Bellefonte Borough, have never really officially adopted a rules of order. We typically lean towards Robert's rules, but with some modifications. For example, in that publication, it talks about secret ballots or ballots. We're not permitted to do that in local government. So everything else seemed to be in line with how we would operate.
And the other thing that Robert says that you can do is abstain from any vote. That's only true for us if you have a financial interest in whatever the vote is.
Yeah, if you have a conflict of interest, that's, and it's typically identified legally as a financial interest, you would want to abstain from voting. And there's a form to fill out. I don't know if we have it here.
It's in the packet.
Okay, yeah.
It is in the packet.
But yeah, there's, every couple of years we advance and then we get new forms and so on to fill out. What was I going to say here a minute ago? Maybe it'll come back to me. But, conflicts of interest, certainly something you want to be aware of. There's information on the Pennsylvania Sunshine Act about...
Before you move on to that, I just want to state that under parliamentary procedure, I have become used to, when there's a motion made, it's an approval motion. It's not a negative motion. And in most cases, that's what, if you look through that program that is out on parliamentary procedure, it basically kind of states that, maybe in different wording. But in my view, it's asking for a positive motion to move. To me, it makes it easier. If you're voting yes, you're approving it. If you're voting no, you're not.
Yes.
And so anything that comes through as a motion that is not a positive motion, I will call it out of order and it'll be restated in a positive fashion moving forward.
It does make it much easier. The other thing I think the thought I had here a minute ago was, if you don't say anything when the votes are asked for, it's counted as a yes vote. So just be aware if you don't want to say anything or whatever, that's how it's recorded. It's recorded as if you voted yes. So I'm going to go on down a couple more items here. Pennsylvania Sunshine Act is really the open meetings law. All of our discussions should be in a public meeting advertised with some exceptions. And there's a list in that handout of exceptions. With the onset of social media and email, we always try to catch ourselves. Once in a while, you'll see someone caution a reply, not to hit a reply to all, because you're allowed information. Like, say I was sending out seminar information or webinar information, I can send it to everybody just like we do with the council packet. But if we were to get into an ordinance, we start going back and forth, then we're in the gray area. So that's, if you have a specific question, it's better just to email one person, not everybody. So it doesn't look like we're discussing or debating. So think about that. It's just new ways, maybe you're new to the public arena, but it's something we try to watch for. Make sure we don't get in any trouble anywhere.
Yeah, put a piece of tape over reply all.
Yeah. Yes. Local government fact sheet. Pennsylvania is known for the number of local governments, the amount. I think we're number 2 in the country next to Illinois. So there's a lot of not only local governments, but the lingo. Joanne was just talking about authorities, boards, and commissions. They're like children of the boroughs and the townships, so they're more to deal with. So anyway, you get a kind of flavor for what's out there. There is other leagues, other associations besides the Boroughs Association, like we're members of the Pennsylvania Municipal League. I favor the Boroughs Association because they speak just to boroughs, and I didn't want to confuse you with city codes or township codes. And so anyway, but just so you know, there are other associations out there. and a little bit about the council manager form of government, which Bellefonte's had for ages. But it's there just so you get familiar with the process that we have here. Let's see here. I think that's, again, just myself, Dawn. You know, we're here to help any way we can with any questions you might have, help you get up to speed.
To add to Mr. Stewart's presentation, the Borough Council Handbook is a very valuable tool, and he's included that in our packet here tonight. It's a great reference book. So I would encourage you to look through that with any questions you have.
Any other questions as well? Okay, the only thing I'll bring up is at the next meeting, there'll be a work session, and we can talk a little bit about that during that work session. You can take a look at the information that's coming up more quickly as far as some training programs and things like that. And we can add to our box at the work session and see what kind of a schedule we work out from that. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Again, it's going to be tough to read everything even another 2 weeks because hopefully you have other things to do at some point. But there is some good important information there, especially when it's dealing with the borough and the manual and things like that. So I would at least kind of look at it and set your priorities to where you want to look at. Okay, that moves us to old business. So we have some items coming up. There's 3 items that are kind of grouped together. One is a memo of conduct for public meetings and the council president rotation. There was a letter included in the packet concerning a proposal to create a code of conduct for public meetings in Bellefonte. This came from the ad hoc committee, which was Joan Trostivasi, Randy Brockville, and Doug Johnson. And I believe this was tabled to come to this meeting so that the new council can have their viewpoints on it. So I'd like you to take a look at that. I can read it to you if you want. It's in October, Joanne Trostivasi, Randy Brockville, Doug Johnson met with College Township and Patton Township representatives regarding pros and cons of rotating the council leadership roles. As part of that discussion, the demeanor of the meetings was brought up. It was suggested a code of conduct be created for all public meetings and hearings conducted by the borough. This written policy lets the elected and appointed board members and the public understand how meetings will be conducted and what types of behavior conducted is or is not acceptable. And I think over the years we've done that. We just don't think had a written policy for it. So that's basically what this is doing. Patton Township created such a written policy that it is given out as part of every meeting agenda. Their township manager sent us a copy of that policy. We revised it to match how we would run our meetings, including the length of time for all public comments. College Township agreed that this could be helpful mainly when people learn about or take on a rotation through leadership roles. Then the attached resolution is a result of this conversation, and we would like you to review this, discuss tonight, and we'll move this on. So that comes up a little bit later for a motion. That leads us into the proposed rotating council leadership roles. This needs to be brought out of table to be discussed. So if that could happen, then I can go ahead and read that.
On table a resolution.
I'll second that. Johnson.
Okay, discussion. Let me go through this for everybody. Annual leadership rotation makes sense. This new rule will provide opportunities of leadership for those who are interested. There are no issues with someone moving up to council president, vice president pro tem, who may be in re-election year with the rotation process described below. I think one thing that is missing is we're not asking everybody, if you're not interested in a leadership position, that's fine. We just move past. Maybe you're not ready this year or next year, but maybe you're ready the 3rd year or the 4th year. So just keep that in mind. The rotation would occur as follows. Following this new rule during the reorganizational meeting, at the first meeting each January, the council president steps down at the first council meeting of the new year. The vice president will move to council president. The pro tem will move to vice president. Council will nominate and elect a new pro tem. Should the current vice president not want to hold the council president position, the pro tem will fill the council president position. Council will nominate and elect in this order a new vice president, and a new pro tem. During the current year, should the president, vice president, pro tem become unable to fill their duties, the rotation would occur with the next person in line with the position that is open. If any change during a year occurs, the new leadership shall maintain their new leadership roles for the remaining months of the current year and the next full calendar year. Changes in the committee makeup will continue with the president making the appointments and changes as needed to run the business of council efficiently.
So now I think you need to ask for a motion to pass that, because we'd only just take it off the table. And since it's a whole new council, I think it's best if we do that.
Yeah, let's take a motion to,
I'll make a motion for Mayor to accept that.
I'll second it, please.
okay, discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor of moving to a rotation, an annual rotation of leadership, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. And then we also have this resolution that we'll need a motion for as well, to establish a policy for conduct during public meetings.
I'll make that motion. I'm trying to get to the resolution number.
It's 20211-220-01.
That's it. I'll make that motion. I went to the other one while we were voting on it. I was trying to get back to it. Yes, Johnson will make the motion.
I'll second it, Clayton.
Okay, discussion.
So just for the public's and everybody's know, this would not only be for council, but this would be for the ABCs as well. Because they're all under our umbrella. And so that would help, so that it makes the same policy for every single end of your business that we're doing. And so when the public comes in, they know what the procedures are.
And maybe be reminded from time to time.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't even mind seeing it framed and put on the wall in a nice presentation.
Coming in
So,
the hall,
yeah, or in this room somewhere.
it's a good idea.
Thanks.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
So as I understand, is when Ralph and Don send out the agenda, they'll also send out a copy of this resolution attached to it.
Sure,
Great.
we can do that.
Okay. Next on old business. Old, got an Italian. December 20th council meeting. December 20th council meeting. Motion to reinstate 2 parking spaces at the northwest corner of the Diamond. This action was not taken due to the police department raising concerns about safety backing into the parking spaces and having the appropriate distance ordinance language to enforce. This is recommending further discussion prior to these spaces being reinstated.
I have a follow-up question.
Mhm.
Do we need to do a motion to rescind, or do we, at this point, until we have a
A withdrawal.
motion to withdraw?
I don't remember if it was a motion, I assume it was.
I think rescind or withdrawal is the same thing.
Okay.
Well, yeah, there was a motion made, I made it,
And we passed
we
it.
approved it.
So
So
what
now
I'm
we have to pull it off.
Okay, and I think,
And I
I think
think
it was
a
passed
yes
in
vote
the-
has to make the motion to
right,
take it off,
so,
or
so it needs
reinstate.
to be somebody, one of the people who was here in the fall,
That's correct.
who voted yes.
Can the motion maker make that
Mm-hmm.
motion? So I want to withdraw that, that action or that motion. I'm not sure how I
Motion to
should state
rescind.
that,
Say
Mr.
motion, because that's
It's a
that's
motion to
definitely a
rescind.
motion, so.
It's a
you wanna
motion to
withdraw the
rescind.
motion?
A motion to rescind
Okay.
the parking space
Reinstatement or reinstallation?
To reinstate part.
to reinstate the parking. And I'm not sure how to identify those spaces at the Brownstone Building, at the
That's what
corner
we-
of High Street and Allegheny.
Northwest corner of the Diamond.
Great. Sounds appropriate to me.
Do we have a second?
I'll second
Judge
motion.
Clayton. Discussion.
Should this go back to streets?
I don't think so at this point. Go ahead, you had some-
I think I would like to keep the two spaces in place. However, maybe another, instead of backing into it, maybe have borough staff look at the most efficient way to put two spaces there in the safest
The
way.
easiest, cleanest way is to put the two spaces back identically the way they were.
Okay,
And then if you want to study it later, we at least have the two spaces the way it was.
I'll make that motion to reinstate the two spaces.
Point of order.
Okay,
You have to go through the motion of rescission, and then if you want to do something else, then you can do that.
You
Okay.
got a
Got
motion
call
and a
for
second.
it, right.
so you can-
So is there any other discussions?
So the two spots that you want to reinstate are inside, furthest from the
Yes.
dangerous curve. That's what
Yes.
we're all talking about for those of us that aren't as familiar as you guys
Yes.
are. The idea was not to allow people to back in because we didn't feel that that was going to be any safer. We're just going to reinstate them the way that they were. We're going to eliminate the two closest to the dangerous
yes.
curve.
And the reason being is we'll reinstate those right now, but if borough staff reevaluates it, they'll come back to council and say, look, we reinstated the two as they were, we think they're unsafe, and we would recommend this. So right now, we're trying to reinstate two parking places,
That
at least until borough staff can,
do you feel is making it safer? I mean, that was the ultimate goal.
Okay, but
Remove
right
the
now,
two-
what we're doing is trying to discuss the
Rescission.
the withdrawal of the parking ordinance.
to reinstate.
Yep.
Then we can go,
Then we go on with this. Any
With-
further discussion?
be with,
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Now you can make your motion.
which one? did-
Put the two spaces
If you
back.
want you
Motion to put the two spaces back, Doug,
Okay.
pulling in head first.
Like they were.
To get on, yeah.
Yes.
I'll make the motion to reinstate the two spaces that are closest to the sidewalk,
YMCA.
the YMCA, as they were originally designed to do. B. Now, whether that is the proper thing to do, at least it's back on the table for more discussion. So that's my motion.
For a second.
I'll second it. Bernier.
You can always ask Sean if he has any.
Any further discussion?
Sean,
Chief
do you have any,
Weaver,
do you have any
anything?
input? Sean?
Two western stalls are perfect.
That would be correct.
Yeah.
Chief, could you come up to the podium, please? Still exists,
So John had it correct, two western spots, closest to YMCA for head-in right now. Evaluate that. Okay.
I personally am opposed to that, because when we looked at all of the traffic, people start speeding up around that corner, and it is that side of the street is, people are slowing down when they're coming up the hill to the stop sign.
Yeah.
I understand that why those four were put back. I don't have a problem with that. The other two, though, is when people come around that corner, they start speeding up, and it becomes a very fast thing, which is why we, at the last meeting, suggested back in, so at least when people are pulling out, they could see oncoming traffic or pedestrians in the way. I'm still concerned that will be either pedestrian or car crashes there, so I'm not willing to vote for that because of those safety concerns.
I'm having a tough one with this. I respect the chief's, I think Chief had some thoughts about it being unsafe. I thought would work out. I talked to borough staff, and they had some concerns. So I'm willing to restate it as it was, but still reconsider what might make it safer, maybe pulling straight in as you make the turn. If we can fit 2 spaces, that the front of the automobile would face west, and limit it to sedans, no SUVs, no pickup trucks. That to me might work out a little better, but there again, I appreciate input from the chief and from borough staff on their thoughts on that.
Well, it's basically getting a measuring stick and going out and checking
Yeah.
what you're suggesting, but in order to get some additional parking, I think it's wise to reinstate the 2 spaces that were there for decades. I think you could do that. What we do favor is, first of all, it's been that way. You can back out and look to the Allegheny Street and see if there's anybody coming, versus setting out on the road and backing in, not really being able to see where you're going, and have a car come around the corner. So it's definitely safer, I believe, to pull in, and then you can see Allegheny Street when you back out. But not to say it, so to really go back to Lukovich's request, you could reinstate the 2 spaces now, and as you're saying, Mr. Johnson, study it a little bit further.
Thank you.
I'd like to recommend that we reinstate the 2 spaces with pull-in parking, but restricted to compact vehicles.
Sure. No SUVs or pickup trucks.
Would that be an amendment to the
Yes.
motion?
It would.
I agree.
Well, no one else will do it, I'll do it.
Oh, second.
Yeah, okay, so amending the motion to limit those 2 parking spaces to sedans, compacts, and be posted, no trucks, no SUVs.
It'll be what we're permitted by the vehicle code. I think we have something similar in other locations in town, but it'll be that verbiage, whatever the vehicle code allows.
Do we have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, of the amendment, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same side. Okay, that motion carries unanimously. Now we're back to the full motion that will include compact and pull-in parking. Any further discussion on on the main motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by...
Did you give anybody have any? Okay.
Give a chance. All those in favor of the main motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye. Counting
One-
Daisy.
May Joanne.
I'll be consistent with what I said.
Okay. Moving on to the budget and tax ordinance that was adopted for 2022. Under the PA Borough Code, the new council is permitted to reopen the budget and reconsider the tax ordinance. If council desires to do this, then any amendments need to be completed by February 15th, 2022. Council may take action to reopen the budget and take ordinance at this meeting. So is there such a motion? Seeing none, we will move on. There's no council action requested on this next item. Ratification of Public Works Contract Agreement completed. The agreement was approved by the union after the December 20th council meeting. Borough Council approved the agreement at the December 6th meeting, and copies will be distributed as soon as possible. The next...
I have a comment.
Go ahead.
I would like to commend our borough staff for negotiating this contract with Public Works. They did and council.
The next item under old business, again, no actions requested, is the meeting dates for 2022. These dates were approved at the December 20th meeting, and they are in the packet as well. So good things to take and put those dates in your phone and be prepared.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I have a couple old business things I think that aren't on here. Am I allowed to? do
Yes,
that?
go ahead.
Okay. One is, because of the uptick in the COVID that we've seen in the last several weeks, I'd like to reinstate the curbside pickup at the existing spots or spaces in the borough that are currently being used at least until February 1st of 2022. So they were scheduled to expire today, but because of this resurgence of the virus, I would like to see that extended until the end of February, or until February 1st, and then we could reconsider it again if we choose to do that.
Point of order.
Yeah.
Well, this was not added at the beginning of the meeting. I agree, it is urgent. But this was not added at the beginning of the meeting, and so I'm not sure we can actually do this.
Okay.
We can bring this up and then vote at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was under old business.
Well, I
It
know
was
you're
in our
supposed to-
old
supposed to
business
put it on the
before.
agenda,
Okay.
action items.
Well, that's why I asked the question if I should bring it up or
Yeah.
not.
Well, we didn't know.
We didn't know what it was.
What it is.
Huh?
But that's- So we'll hold that until the next meeting.
Okay.
But
Can they just not?
If obviously I hear what you're saying, we'll just work with what's there and work on a motion at the next meeting. I hear what you're saying, I can take care of that.
Do you have anything else, Doug?
Well, the other one is not on the agenda.
Okay. It's all new, everybody.
It is fairly.
That's not that, hasn't been around that long.
Yes.
This new law, FYI, only came into effect about 5 months ago.
Yeah.
So we're still all trying to get used to this.
Okay, then we're going to move to new business. The Borough Council mandate for mask covering in the Borough Building. This item was added to the agenda by request. Council may decide to modify this order. Is there a motion to bring up discussion?
I'll make a motion. For now.
Is there a second to the motion? Seeing no second, that motion will die at this point. Okay, but thank you. Okay, now we're into consideration of appointments, reappointments to authorities, boards, and commissions. Council is responsible for appointing citizens to borough authorities, boards, and commissions when terms expire or when vacancies occur. Terms do not expire until the first Monday in January. Please see the list of appointments included in the meeting material. There are vacancies with no applicants at this time.
There's one.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint John Eaton to the Borough Authority.
Okay, any other appointments?
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Joe Biegel to the Borough Authority.
Let's see. We have, the way I'm reading this, Planning Commission, we have David Lawson.
Oh, you want to do them all? I thought we were doing one at a time.
Okay, well,
Yeah, I
I
think
think it's easier one at a time.
okay, so we'll go back to Joe Biegel. So all those in favor, I'm sorry, we'll go to John Eaton, he was the first one. All those in favor for John Eaton signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, let's have a show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And show of hands for Joe Biegel. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that would put John Eaton into that.
Okay.
So the next, there are vacancies in the Nittany Valley Joint Planning Commission because I believe Bob Daniker had sent in a resignation.
Bob did say he's not interested.
Actually, clarify, he was not on it 2 years ago. Ralph and I had this discussion this afternoon. The way the state law is written, it has to be a member of council, and it has to be, it's supposed to be the chair of the local planning commission or his or her designee. When Bob said he didn't want to do this 2 years ago, Mark Edwards took over. So what I would like to do is do a conditional approval for Mark Edwards for that position, so we can ask him if he still wants to continue or not.
He may have, there may have been correspondence. I don't have, since Alyssa's on leave, I'm not sure about that, so conditional approval until we check with them.
Because I'm no longer on that either. So we have two vacancies there.
Okay, so we
I was
need
the
a council member.
We need a council rep and a planning commission rep.
And so I'll nominate Doug Johnson as the council rep. He also is representing NPO.
Do you want, yeah,
You.
you could do
Right.
both at this.
I can't make
You
that.
can't make that motion.
I will make a motion to appoint Doug Johnson as our representative of the Nittany Valley Joint Planning Commission.
So, I'm not clear on this. What is Mark? Who?
Mark's on the planning commission.
Right now.
Yes, he's a member
Of the ARC
our
planning commission.
Borough Planning Commission, saying, I think the idea is that somebody from the Planning Commission is appointed, somebody from council is
The way I
appointed.
understood it was the president of the planning commission usually is on Nittany Valley.
Or his or her designee.
Okay.
In my view of this, we have an application for the planning commission from Dave Lawmason. He has sent in a letter requesting that appointment. And so I would rather see us move with somebody who we know is interested.
Okay, I didn't know
That's
that.
up to you guys, yeah.
Right.
So then I'll make that nomination for Dave Lomason for it, and then we'll have two people and we can vote one way or the other.
Okay, so we have
Mark
Mark
Edwards.
and Lawmason and me? Or Mark and
No,
Lawmason?
no, you are a separate one because you has to be a council member.
All right,
The other one has to be a planning commission member.
okay.
So you have no competition.
No, but don't we have to first reappoint Dave Lawmason?
Is he up for reappointment? I think he may
He
be.
is, he's on the list here, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
So let's move down there. Let's go to the planning commission right now. Dave Lawmason is the only name in there. He is interested. So I'll accept the motion for Dave Lawmason.
I'll make the
for
motion
planning
for
commission.
Dave Lawmason to be appointed to the 4-year term on the planning commission.
Is there a second?
Bernier, second.
Discussion. Seeing none, then Dave Lawmason is appointed.
Okay, now we'll go back to that
Yeah.
other
That
one
makes
if
sense.
you
That
don't
makes
mind.
sense. So I make that motion for Dave Lomason for the Nittany Valley Joint Planning Commission.
I'll second it.
Any discussion on that appointment? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. The motion carries, so it goes to Dave. And now we need the council member. It should be,
Nominate Doug Johnson.
That already happened.
I'll second it.
any other discussion on the council person to Nittany Valley Joint Planning? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Can I go back, because I may have messed up with my count with the Water Authority.
We had 5 for Eden and 4 for
You
Johnson.
could do a roll.
Who was the 4? when we raised Who supported Joe Biegel on that one? Because I thought I had four. Okay. All right, well, then we're okay. That's what it was. Just wanted to double check that. Let's see, then Spring Creek Watershed, rep and alternate with Joanne Tostavasi as a representative, John Eaton as an alternate. Are there time limits on that at all, Joanne? or how
I
does it-
just went through the bylaws last week for Harris Township, and there are no time limits, no term limits for appointments. The way it was told to me by Bill Sharp, who's been with the commission since the beginning, was you could be 2 months, it could be 2 years, or you could be like Harris Township, and it was 20 years. We have traditionally done once every 2 years.
So there's, what year are you guys on now then?
This would be the time to re-up it, because we did it when we did the reorganization.
So is the alternate typically a council member?
The representative needs to be a council member. The alternate can be a community member. We have typically had a council member, but there are several municipalities that do have an alternate who is a community member who's interested in these issues.
So is there, the question, is there any council member that's interested in serving on the Spring Creek watershed?
Me?
Oh, I know that.
Is there another council person that may be interested in this as an alternate?
John has said he would be interested in continuing if there isn't anyone else.
Have a motion then.
I'll move myself for rep and John Eaton as alternate to the Spring Creek Watershed Commission.
We have a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And then we have a zoning hearing board, 5-year term. We have Mark Johnson and Bob McWilliams. Are these guys?
Bob McWilliams is interested. Mark Johnson, where I would make him conditional if you need more than one.
We only need one.
Okay, then Bob McWilliams, I think, is interested.
All right, and can we have a motion?
I'll move Bob McWilliams for zoning hearing board.
Second?
I'll second that, Clayton.
Discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion passes.
It looks like, what about the Center County Metropolitan Planning Law, CCMPO? Did we do that one the last time or not?
Well, no, that is a recommendation to Nittany Valley Planning
Okay.
to appoint me. There needs to be a,
That letter needs to go out to the 5 municipality
Kind of-
members.
Yeah, we gotta tell the region that we're supporting Mr. Johnson, if that's who it is.
right.
Then the region has to agree, Nittany Valley Region
This is just a letter of
Municipalities.
support
Okay.
to reinstate me on that CCMPO.
But we can make a motion to,
Send the letter.
but we have that motion.
I will make that motion, Clayton.
Ed Clayton. Second?
I'll second.
Okay. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion.
And I see one other that we skipped, and that's the sewage enforcement officer, Stanley Wallace. And that is a contracted position.
Well, it's as needed, and the fees are really, if we don't go through our office, but there's a few on-lot septic systems that still exist, even though we have a public sewer system. So we're required to have an SEO appointed in case, yes, I think that. No, Don Franson's a stormwater engineer. We're going to hold that to the next meeting. It just came in late, so,
So this one,
yes.
no, that's John.
Appoint Stanley Wallace as the SEO
Yeah.
for Bellefonte Borough.
I think
He's
it was
had
in
it
there.
for 20-some years.
Yeah.
And
Okay, we have a second.
I'll second that.
That's Clayton. Any discussion?
Same question I've had each time we come up with these professional outside services. Do we do any advertising, and is it necessary?
I think we try to obviously these terms are, we try to put them on our website. It's up to you folks. These particular positions, it's professional appointments. You don't usually advertise those. You could do an RFP if you wanted to or something. Like your solicitor, we typically don't, we don't do that every year, maybe every 3 or 4 or 5 years. Do something with the solicitor. You could. It's just that those particular professionals are rarely used. The fees are pass-through fees, with some exceptions, like the stormwater engineer at the next meeting. We tend to pay those bills.
how many times have we used Stanley in the last year?
0.
I think we used them once in the 14 years.
Yeah. So his
Yes.
fees are reasonable.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
I think you think I'm more of Borough stand time,
Yes.
put out an RFP, spend
Yeah.
money for the
Okay, we're gonna, so we have that as a motion? Or was it- that didn't-
We had the motion in the second.
Okay, I thought we did. Didn't see much looking around. Okay, any other discussion? We'll vote on the motion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, and that motion carries. I lost my worksheet.
Agenda.
No, I just lost my worksheet. I think that takes care of our appointments. So we now have one more left, with the appointment of a vacancy board chair. In the event of a council vacancy, council has 30 days to fill the vacancy. If council does not, the vacancy goes to the vacancy board. All of council plus one citizen who acts as the chair, the vacancy board has a period of time to meet and consider the vacancy. If not filled by the board, then the court, it gets turned over to the court. Dave Provan has served in the capacity for many years, and we thank him for those years and that time he put in. Dave is not interested in being reappointed, so council action is requested. So do we know somebody, or we can hold it till the next meeting if we need to?
Is it possible to advertise it and then do it at the next meeting?
We could. We haven't used the Center Daily Times for quite a while. We could put it on the website, use the Lock Haven Express pretty much extensively, so.
Lock Haven is fine.
What's that?
So Lock Haven or the website is just
Yeah.
fine.
Is Rick Torso on that? Or is that the same board?
No,
No,
this is
he's
just
on
one
civil
individual.
Oh,
and all
yeah,
of
that's
you.
right, yeah, okay.
Yes.
This is like when we...
Yeah, I got it.
So we have a motion to advertise, is that what we have? We have a second? Second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to advertise for vacancy board, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Okay, Ralph, I'm going to turn this next one over to you.
Yes, I'm making a recommendation to maybe hold off on standing committees. It's kind of self-explanatory there on the agenda. I think it's in everybody's best interest, and you're getting up to speed. If we hold off on committees at this point in time, I've noted a couple of reasons for this proposal. I think you would gain a lot by hearing everything at the same time, getting the same information. I know in my looking backwards, that's where sometimes things get out of whack and that kind of thing. So not only for that reason, but for your, fastest way to learn, you need to be in every conversation. Every time there's a meeting, you need to be there. So that's really where I'm coming from. It's a way for everybody to be on the same page as much as possible. So that, in a nutshell, that's my recommendation, and it's for your consideration.
Any questions? Ralph's comments. I want to chime in, and I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good suggestion. This is, I think, the first since I've been on council that we've changed so many seats at one time. I think, as looking at it, coming into this as a president, I was more thinking of this as being a training year for everyone and getting everybody involved in one part of it or another through the process with somebody who's been on council for a long length of time. So even if we don't have committees, we will have point people assigned, and then that point person could, if something comes up, let's say it's streets. Streets is usually pretty. So if we have 4 or 5 things going on in streets, we could still have different groups addressing those issues instead of just having one committee getting hammered with many requests. And that'll hopefully help with get everybody involved, and it can happen in different situations as well.
We try to utilize the work session time more efficiently, really cover the same issues, but in a joint work session with everybody there. And I noted, it's recorded, it's there. If you're away out of town, you can get the recording. The committees, we take notes most of the time, but don't record them. We don't do an official set of minutes, so there's a lot of advantages if we all work together and we schedule things and we're disciplined on our time, like that resolution you passed earlier. We're going to be to the point in these meetings to get stuff done. If we do that, we would be fine. We can do a lot in the work sessions together and then have it on the agenda when it's ready for approval or whatever, action.
Right.
I generally like the idea. Having said that, we tried this 3 years ago, and by about 6 months into it, a lot of council members got very frustrated. So I have no problem trying this, but could we try for 6 months and then reconsider to see how everybody feels? That way everybody who's new gets the feel of it, sees what they want, and then we can move from there.
I would really stress a year because of the budget season. We know what goes through in the finance committee meetings is so valuable for your understanding, understand our tax base and why we kind of have difficulty every year matching resources with services. You need to be in those conversations, at least one cycle. The cycle is from September to December. So I'm stressing that for your benefit. Try to go a year through a cycle that we go through, and then see what, if you want to go backwards or forwards or whatever. But that's my recommendation.
Let me ask one other question then, and that's this year we have negotiations with the police union. I cannot see that usually was held. Let me finish. Was usually held in the Human Relations Committee.
Yes.
If we go this committee as a whole, I think Randy will need to be making appointments to that particular subgroup, because there is no way. I don't think it would be fair to the police or to us to have 9 people
No, I realize
negotiate.
that. That will happen.
For HR items, contract negotiations, you got to do a subcommittee. Understanding, but it would have a sole purpose, negotiate the contract and so on.
I think too, even if we, some of the items that come up, if it's not something happening in a couple of weeks, it's something that we spend 10 minutes on in one work session 1 week and then move it to the next as we progress through it and then have it finished and ready for council at that point. So it's not like whatever's on our work session is going to happen that night. Sometimes it's weeks later.
Right.
It's just getting people involved in it at that point. So,
I have to agree with our borough staff. I think it's a good idea to reinstate it. I know I was bogged down by weekly meetings that, depending on what committee you're assigned to. I know our borough staff was burdened with meetings throughout the year, dealing with COVID and then squeezing in committee meetings. Must have been a real challenge for our borough staff. So I think this will help relieve some of that to staff and also for council members.
I have a question. You had mentioned appointing or having people appoint people. How would that differ from having a chairperson? And how would one become an appointed person? You gave the example of the street.
right. It depends on how we set up the committees, because I can set up the committee however I want to. So I need to look at that and see how many committees we're actually going to have and what falls in. Like, we have streets as a committee itself, but streets is also in public works. So I could put it as a public works committee. The only thing is, we couldn't go over more than three people on the committee. So even if the point person could be the fourth person, where you have 3 council people and the point person. It would be like having the president there. Yeah. Just there to help things along, basically.
So essentially, we would still have committees, but we would bring, instead of having individual meetings or committees, we would bring the information to the council meeting.
If it leads to that type of committee that we need. If it's something we could do over time or at a work session, then that's when we will take care of this stuff, of meetings like that. So. I'm sure we'll be challenged from time to time.
Yeah, I'd give it some thought, think it through, search other municipalities, non-committees, committees. I'm making a recommendation, we try to go a year without really any formal standing committees, with some exceptions, like HR doing the contract. There's gazillions of municipalities trying one form or another, so there's lots of examples out there, but I'm just saying, like Mr. Johnson said, or someone said earlier, we have 5 new members. I don't know that ever happening, and I think it'd be valuable if you went through a cycle with everybody in the same room, getting the same information.
When you say, piggyback on Shauna's question, when you say point person, would that be the person when we come to these meetings that we say we've got a streets issue, they would be talking about whatever the streets thing is, and if something comes up about the parks, we would have a point person for parks, and that would be the person doing the reports, and so with showing up on our agenda, how would that look?
I don't know what to do with the agenda first. We've done it before, and I think it'll work again, because I thought it was working fine.
I have no problem, I'm just trying to picture it in my mind,
Yeah.
because a point person is something different to me than a committee chair.
I would try to make it clear in your minds and in our minds, we either have committees or we don't. Some kind of hybrid make it confusing to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I voted up or down, and leave us know which way it is, because you got to have one or the other. Some kind of hybrid I don't think works, because as soon as you get people going off in different directions, that's where information goes with you, and that's when other people are left out of the conversation. So I'm trying to recommend avoiding that, but it's up to you, up to a majority, 5 votes or more, whether you have standing committees or not. I'm recommending not for at least a year.
I just want to add on, Doug, to what Doug said and what Ralph is saying. I sat on council a number of years ago. This is the first time, the only reason that we think this is something that we're recommending is this is the first time that there's so many new people. If it's 1 or 2, you can be on a committee and, maybe that doesn't meet that often and work, but with 5 new people, you know, there's going to be some people that are going to be on some very active committees that there's a lot going on. And I think it would detract from you learning other things that are going on in the borough, myself as well as Ralph. I didn't think that if we're talking, I agree with Ralph. Going back to what Doug said, the way we've been doing meetings, committee meetings through Zoom and during the day, it's no problem for us either way. You guys want committees, we're okay with it. We just didn't think that it was, we just think for 1 year that for as many new people that are sitting here tonight, that it would, we're just thinking it's in your best interest that we handle things. You know, Joanne said we tried it once, but in my mind, there were just a few council members that really wanted to be on a committee. I don't think it was something that was widespread, in my opinion. I do think that it would benefit everybody to hear everything that's going on, at least for 1 year, and then after 1 year, we'll go back to committees. Everyone, you know, picks a committee they want, and then we can reestablish it. But I think it would. We just think it would be in the new council members' benefit. That's all. But if you didn't want to do that, we're perfectly fine with it.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion for committee as a whole. Bernier, right?
I'll second that motion.
So you're talking with everybody?
Right.
Not separate committees, correct?
Right.
Okay.
I'm reading that right, yeah. Committee as a whole.
Yes.
Committees, this is, no committees for
Doug,
1
you
year?
seconded that?
I did
Yes, we
second
did.
it. Yes.
That means no committees for one.
Right, and we all get to listen to everything.
Okay, now, we had quite a discussion on this prior to the motion. So we're still in discussion here for a little bit, and we're going to move it on. So is there any more discussion?
I think it would be beneficial for everybody in the long run.
Thank you. Any other discussion, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of meeting as a committee as a whole, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
Again, unanimous.
Okay, that takes us to the work session of January 18th. If you look at the agenda, there's this council action requested. There's a list of issues that we've been working on, and one of the things that we tried to kick around is to get something done. Parkview Heights area has been flooding for I don't know how many years, and we need to get that fixed up. We need to get the Armory properties taken care of. We need to get the LRTA draft ordinance in place in the next couple months. We have contractors that are interested in that program, and to hold them up doesn't make sense. But there's a lot of steps to take in the LRTA and going through the county and the school district to get their approval. And it could take up, even if we can get this approved at the next meeting here on the 18th, that gives us a quick start then to get this into the hands of the county and also the school district, and whoever else it needs to touch, but and probably have it solidified here in March or April at the latest, because that's concerning the hotel, it's concerning some building renovations downtown in the apartments and street front retail areas. So it's an interest to the contractors because it saves them some money over a couple of years period. So
Is that ordinance online?
It's a draft. I'll send it out ahead of time to you. We just got legal comments right before the packet went out, so I'll have some legal comments going out with the draft. So we'll have it ahead of your materials for this work session coming up. So, yes. I put this together. I was trying to think of what, again, trying to have you understand some of these bigger projects we have been working on, and so the status of them. If there's other items you would like to go over or something, an area that I didn't think of, let me know.
I just heard Randy add Parkview Heights to your list.
Okay. Yes.
And then I'm looking at your 2021 goals. I'm assuming do you need us to tell you which ones you want to go into the council retreat? Or do you want us to pull things out of this, saying that we want to talk about these at this meeting?
Well, the council retreat's kind of a topic of its own. First of all, I want to make sure the majority, again, you're going to hear me say that a gazillion times because it switched. We have a new majority or 5 new members on council. So I want to make sure.
There's no sense taking on things that we're not going to get done and save it for the next term. That's what we'll try to do. But it gets frustrating when you try to get something done and it ends up taking months to get just like the diamond area. That has almost a year now since we've been talking about the diamond.
Pretty fast for government.
And
But anyway, that's, this can all be addressed in the work
I
session.
think this 2021 goals are great. I don't think you have to go into a lot of detail, but I'm sure that a lot of the new members here on council don't know what some of these bullet points mean. So if you could add that to the agenda, just to say, for example, Union Cemetery discussions, you can say why we want to talk about Union Cemetery.
yeah, obviously it's a long list. If you see something that Joanne's referring to is in the budget document, I look at it separately. I could send it out separately.
That would be helpful, I think.
I'll do that. I'll make a note and do that. But look over the list. We're trying to use your time wisely, and I want to talk on things you're interested in or want more information on. So look over the list. Let me know. Let Randy know. Randy can let me know, and so on. Either way, we'll try to be ready for the topics of your interest. We're trying to say.
Yeah, if you can get it to, we won't be doing the agenda till not this week, next week, probably starting Wednesday. We haven't even talked about dates.
Probably like Wednesday. We usually try to get the information out. Obviously, Friday's the latest. Ideally, even Thursday. Sometimes it's a staffing issue. Who's available? So Wednesday we usually meet with Joanne. Now we'll be meeting with Randy to go over, craft the agenda. So just while we're talking about this, if you say, hey, why don't we have such and such on the agenda, either the work session or regular council meeting, I would ask you to direct that to the council president, and then when we get together, we go over what's on the agenda, every agenda. So if you want to send it to me and copy Randy in or vice versa, that's fine too. That's good.
Okay. So there's really no action here to be taken. It's just
Just proposed agenda items for the work
this will be an
session.
exec session.
If we the next item, Randy's asking about the increases in non-union employee wages. I did include a memo. If you would like to not do anything, and I certainly would understand that as you're brand new, and if you want to meet in executive session to discuss backgrounds, histories, the whys, or whatever as to what's being proposed or how the numbers came to be, we would schedule an executive session to do that, probably before the next work session. What's that? I was going to say it tends to be a long evening, but that's just, sometimes that's how it works out. We know you're sort of planning that in the evening, so we try to piggyback on that fact that you're available. But that the whole item is up to council. There's a memo trying to explain how we got to where we are. If you want to wait 2 weeks, that's no problem.
Well, again, that's something like wages and things. We've usually talked about that in the exec committee.
We have. It was just.
The last meeting, we were told to bring it to the
We were
full
told.
council.
I mean, because some of the transparency issues that were going on, we were asked to put it on the agenda. As I said, I think I said in the memo, if you get into, just such and such person and wages, to me, that's, I would go into the personnel meeting, executive
Okay,
session.
since it's everybody.
This is everybody and kind of blanket, I think you would be okay. in a public meeting to do something.
Okay, so this can either be tabled till the next meeting, or it can be voted upon tonight.
We're talking about this particular member for police officers and public works.
No, was it?
Yes, that memo of this line item, yes,
Okay, and these are your comments here, Ralph, about
yes,
how you came about these figures.
yes.
So,
I thought that was non-union.
so
It
there
is
there are
non-union.
two options, and I think historically what we've done is have the office staff go with the public
Clarify
works,
it first.
just to give you a background.
Just to clarify.
The police numbers are there in the memo. Of course, they're already decided upon. The union members are decided upon. What we're asking for is non-union members. Now, I do have another non-union position listed there. I don't want to say the title right now, but it's on the memo. So I'm talking about the non-union raise increases, if there is any. It's up to you guys.
Table or vote? What are we going to do? I need a motion for something.
I'll just get this conversation started. I move that we give the non-union employees the same wage increases as public works employees, including the $1,500 one-time bonus for the employees who are in the defined benefit.
I will second that motion. Johnson?
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Thank you.
Brandon, can I make one comment? In regard, I wanted to make sure, because we put so much information at your desk tonight, for anyone that's new, Barbie put some information that she needs to get you in as an employee, so that as the payroll gets taken care of, that that your check will go into your bank. So please make sure that you do not lose that in the midst of all your other information that was provided, which I understand. And that's why I wanted to make note of it. And if you could get that completed as soon as you possibly can and get it back to us, that would be very helpful to Barbie. She'll get you into the payroll system.
We're not considered employees, so this motion
Yeah.
doesn't affect you.
Yes.
Okay, moving on, we have adjournment. We have motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Doug Johnson, second Stacy. We have adjourned at 9:12. Thank you.
Thank you. Got it.